Swallowed star. The soul, as a flesh and blood life form's core, for it to suddenly evolve, it was something the current Luo Feng was unable to do. Slowly, he gritted his teeth and continued to receive the demon note inheritance. One step, one level at a time. Only with constant work every day could he improve. In the blink of an eye, several months passed again. On the 1236th level, Luo Feng, who was in full armor, knelt on the floor, gasping softly. The pain and fatigue from the soul was making him about to crumble. I'm almost saturated. Luo Feng's eyes had a sense of being undefeated. He felt the sharp pain in his soul, almost like someone attacking his soul. That incomparable fatigue made him feel like he was about to fall asleep any time. According to the information about the inheritance, this represented that Luo Feng's soul was already almost full from receiving the inheritance. Even if he forced his way through, he could at most progress another 1 or 2 levels. Is this the end? He looked up and ahead. The many levels of stairs continued on into the distant space. Pa! His body shuddered, simultaneously as he stepped on the 1237th level of stone stairs, feeling the inheritance pour into his memory. He still didn't stop, taking another step trying to get to the 1238th level. The moment he landed on it. Wang, Chang. The strange demon note pierced straight into his consciousness. Break. Luo Feng's incomparably solid willpower roared within. Gradually, Luo Feng had a memory of when he was young, listening to his mother sing him to sleep. Trouble. No. No. Luo Feng knew he was falling in, barging forward without accepting the inheritance had resulted in the strongest of demon notes attacking him. Sleep. Sleep. No. Sleep. Luo Feng felt his consciousness sink more, slowly, sinking. It was a bottomless abyss. Luo Feng stood on the 1238th level, his eyes shut, his face revealed a simple smile. After which, he behaved like a robot, flying back and landing on the 1237th level. Mang, Jian. The demon notes changed. Luo Feng's consciousness rose from the bottomless abyss, almost like returning to reality from the darkness. He opened his eyes quickly. He awoke. Phew, phew. He gasped for breath, sweat beading from his forehead profusely, his face pale. Just how strong were their defenses? If the demon notes could affect these beings, how could it not affect Luo Feng? Luckily, I guessed earlier that the demon note shrine was specially built for the inheritance. It shouldn't have any threat to the inheritors. Luo Feng felt his mind constantly receiving the 1237th level of information, lifting his head once again to look at the endless space and that shrine. He couldn't accept it. He just couldn't accept it. The cloud contact vine can at most extend 3,000 kilometers, I don't know if it can reach. He thought, even though he felt like the design of the palace wouldn't have such a loophole, he couldn't resist not giving it a shot. He immediately extended his right arm and from the sleeves shot out a thin vine. Chi chi chi. It extended and quickly grew longer and thicker, heading towards the shrine. There's actually no resistance. No resistance at all. He couldn't believe it, watching the vine extend towards the distant space. Shrine. The vine pierced into the shrine. Chi. His expression changed. The shrine which he could see was simply like air, the vines that grew there couldn't even touch anything. What's going on? Luo Feng controlled the vine to sweep about. Chi. 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 The air swiveled about. However, no matter how the vine swept, even against the stairs that led there, it couldn't touch anything at all. This. Luo Feng was shocked, after which he sent another vine from his right arm towards the stairs he was on. Chi! The vine passed right through the stairs, almost like there was nothing there. How can this be? He frowned. Luo Feng, I think I understand it. Take out a robot, try again. Babata's voice resounded within Luo Feng's mind. He nodded and the 1000s of km cloud contact vine shrank back. Simultaneously he retrieved a robot from his space ring. It floated in mid-air and bowed respectfully at Luo Feng, Master. Step on the stairs. Luo Feng ordered. Yes. The guard immediately landed and stepped. Who? Similarly, it was like he stepped on air. D. The guard's red crystal eyes immediately had large amounts of words flashing through them, as though it was swiftly calculating things, after which he turned towards Luo Feng and said, Master, these stairs cannot be stepped on. However, Master, you are standing on them, there's no logical explanation in my information database. Luo Feng nodded. With a wave, he kept the robot back into the space ring. Just as I guessed, it shouldn't be wrong. Babata's voice sounded. What's going on? Luo Feng asked, even though he roughly began to understand too. Luo Feng, this mysterious inheritance palace, all the treasures etc., only the inheritors can receive them. Babata said, just like the inheritance your teacher left behind, like when I accept the disciples. The bank accounts he left behind, only the disciples that pass through the inspection can retrieve them. One theory. Luo Feng nodded. Right. That being that left this behind, his abilities were far beyond his imagination. After all the demon notes he left behind, could easily overcome undyings, if he came out personally, how absurd would that be? Hence, this great being, the palace he built, the treasures can only be retrieved by the inheritors. Babata said, whether you use a supporting plant life form or machine, ships etc. As long as it's not the inheritor themselves, they wouldn't even be able to touch the stairs, shrine etc., almost like they are all in a different space altogether. Luo Feng nodded. They couldn't even touch it, the use of space far exceeded Luo Feng's imagination. You are an inheritor, only you can touch the stairs and shrine. Babata said, every inheritor must have to be able to receive the inheritance. However, the life forms with souls, obviously cannot withstand the demon notes he left behind. They can only take one step at a time. If they can withstand it. Luo Feng smiled. If they can, that would mean that inheritor is also a great being. It would make sense they can retrieve the treasures. Babata said. Luo Feng nodded. Looking up at the distant shrine in space, while receiving the inheritance, he pondered. The design is indeed perfect. Inheritance palace, only a life form can receive the inheritance and they must have souls. He exclaimed, and the life form with a soul will definitely be affected by the demon notes. This way, they really have to follow the great being's plan of taking one step at a time, until they reach the shrine. However, there are life forms that defy logic in the universe. Luo Feng stared at the shrine in space. So, in mid-air, another black-clothed Luo Feng appeared. His life energy was identical to his earth body, it was Masha Luo Feng. My Masha body can completely clone its energy to my earth human body. He stood there, Masha Luo Feng too began to descend and land on the stairs. Pa! He landed on the stairs. Standing on the solid stone stairs. Very good. Masha Luo Feng smiled, immediately taking a step to the next level. Wang, Chang. That terrifying demon note pierced into Masha Luo Feng. However, demon note, accurately speaking, was a form of soul hypnotism, it was a terrifying super hypnotism. Those that were affected would lose their sense of reason and become zombies. However, the Masha Luo Feng didn't carry the core. The core remained with the earth human body. The Masha Luo Feng without a core, was simply like a real Masha clansman. It wasn't affected at all by soul attacks. As long as any attacks were linked to the soul, it had no effect whatsoever on it. Right, just like this. Masha Luo Feng smiled and walked on the stairs, heading to the next level. The demon notes piled on, however the seemingly celebratory Luo Feng was celebrating as he proceeded upwards. Another step after another. More steps. The great being that left behind the inheritance would probably never had guessed that, a life form with a soul and another soulless life form, could actually be the same person. The demon notes sounded. If one couldn't see the effects of the demon notes, just listening to them alone, they were wonderful. On the stairs in space, the many levels extended upwards. Masha Luo Feng became a beam of light passing through the many levels, quickly reaching the 333th level. This was the final level of the first part. And before him, was a 1000m tall shrine with the outer wall filled with peculiar statues. There stood two huge gold doors. The door was open. Shrine. Luo Feng looked at the huge gold door that exuded shocking pressure. Before this door that was at least a few hundred meters tall, he was like a small ant. I'm here. Luo Feng flew straight in. Mist covered the entire shrine. There floated a stone tablet amidst the mist. On it mysterious words appeared. After a while, the meaning of the words were: You are the 61201th inheritor who's come here. You have the right to obtain the title beginner, receiving the beginner reward. The moment the words finished, Luo Feng looked all about, wanting to find the treasure. However, suddenly, to be able to get here, one is to finish all 3,333 levels of inheritance stairs. The second is like you, forcefully withstanding the demon note until you reach here. A complex mysterious voice resounded within the shrine. The language is something he had never heard before, yet Luo Feng understood everything it said. He was shocked when he heard the words. Demon Mountain had existed for over 1 trillion years. That great being should have long left the place. One golden energy ball. One gray ball. Masha Luo Feng stood in the shrine, looking up at the distant floating energy balls, laughing within. That being must have left behind a warning in the shrine. He must have discovered I didn't receive the 3,333 levels of inheritance and barged my way here. He must have thought I withstood it all. However, still truly powerful. According to what he said, those able to withstand it must at least be a universe knight. Luo Feng exclaimed within. Knights, they were split into space or time knights. In the universe they were definitely absolute beings, to be able to build a universe country, dominate over trillions of galaxies and countless lives. Even amongst the pinnacle of races, humans, the universe country leaders were huge figures. Amongst the weaker races in the universe, a knight would most probably be the ultimate power. From the looks of it, the one who left behind the inheritance should be stronger than a knight. His gaze fell on the two energy balls. In the mist, one ball of gold and another of gray floated. Rumble. Rumble. The gold energy ball exploded open and revealed a crystal-like gold fruit. From the first glance, it was similar to the cantaloupe melon Luo Feng ate on Earth. However, even though this floating fruit was gold, it was translucent. One could faintly see the insides of it, and it was surrounded by gold energy. A stone board. A fruit. These were the treasures the inheritance palace left behind. Luo Fu Lu board. Babada was shocked. The punk that left this behind sure is generous. The first part and he actually leaves behind the treasure Luo Fu Lu board. What's that? Luo Feng asked. This board is similar to your dark cloud shuttle. Babada said, it is a flying weapon to be stood on. Flying spirit weapon. Luo Feng was curious. The spirit weapons in the universe, to Luo Feng were considered cheap. The level 5 weapons, may be expensive to the sector lords but they didn't matter much to Luo Feng. This naturally formed board before Luo Feng however, was something he had never seen or heard of. Is this board very expensive? Luo Feng asked. Luo Feng nodded, this he knew. The origins for the weapons used by Undyings come from many places. And the Luo Fu Lu board is considered an exceptional flying spirit weapon even amongst the Undying weapons. Only few official levels have it. Most of them are Emperor level at least. Babata said. It is a naturally formed stone board from the universe, its power is shocking. Luo Feng was stunned. Only few official level have it. Then my teacher. Luo Feng asked. Which? Babata asked, if it's true yen, then he'll definitely be able to acquire it. My master, was weaker. The flying spirit weapon he used was much weaker. After all the price of the Luo Fu Lu board is 1 to 2 million mixed elements, and even so, very few people sell it. Luo Feng took a deep breath. Calm, he had to keep calm. 1 to 2 million mixed elements. Sick, really sick. He felt that he was very poor already, 1 million mixed elements, just what was that? Back then when Luo Feng joined the auction, the little starfield Dana starfield was sold for only 1,000 mixed elements. Of course that was still a small starfield. And the Black Dragon Mountain star field was a big one, its galaxies were 20 times that of the Dana starfield. As the galaxies were gathered together and easy to govern, its price could be at least 10 times, however even so its price was still only 300,000 to 1 million mixed elements. Usually with 500,000 mixed elements, one could already buy the Black Dragon Mountain star field. 1 million was the absolute maximum. Just this stone board is comparable to the Black Dragon Mountain star field. Luo Feng took a deep breath. If you brought this stone board to that Undying in the sacred land Black Dragon, that Undying will definitely be more than willing to exchange you for it. Babata said, no matter what, the Black Dragon Mountain Empire is only one Undying's entire wealth. Luo Feng nodded. The Ganwu Universe country leader would definitely be more than willing to give away his country in exchange for the treasure. What's that fruit? Luo Feng asked. That I don't know, I've followed your teacher for over 60 million years, I've seen and heard a lot, this gold fruit, I've never seen before. I only know, another special gold fruit. Babata said, but it's obviously different from that one. Within the shrine. Luo Feng looked up at the two floating treasures, even after talking so much with Babata, that had only been an instant. Suddenly. More words appeared on the stone tablet floating in the mist, beginner reward, the first is the Luo Fu Lu board, flying weapon for a spirit reader, with it, survival chances in the dangerous universe greatly rises. The second is the gold soul fruit, a mysterious fruit that forms only once every 3,000 eras, it has a special quality that can change the soul, making it able to accept more inheritance. This first and second part will both have soul-changing treasures. Yet, still none have been able to fully accept it completely. Luo Feng realized. He immediately extended his arm and grabbed the two treasures, swiftly keeping both treasures in his space ring. Gold soul fruit, so it can change the soul. Luo Feng nodded. Seems right. If I were a being that leaves behind an inheritance, I will leave some treasures to try and aid the later generations in completing it. Luo Feng thought, it's a pity, even with the being's help, the hundreds of thousands of life forms that have been here, even the Undyings haven't been able to succeed. Masha Luo Feng swiftly left the shrine after acquiring the two treasures and flew down. So. He flew from high above in the shrine down to the 1237th level, standing beside the earth body, passing him the space ring and vanishing into the internal world. Luo Feng stood there, looking at the shrine, smiling. Ha! I got really lucky this time. He smiled. The universe is incredibly vast and mysterious, with many miracles, but only through acquiring them would it be a success. This is considered a success. With a wave. A translucent gold fruit appeared, gold energy visible to the naked eye surrounded it. The gold soul fruit, a fruit formed once every 3,000 eras. According to the information from the shrine, it can change my soul, making it better suited to accept the inheritance. Luo Feng didn't hesitate and took a bite. As he broke through the skin of the fruit, the meat from within flowed like energy and permeated into his body. Chi chi chi. Even the skin outside became like an energy flow, permeating his body. How comfortable. The piercing pain from before is completely gone, there isn't a hint of fatigue, and my attention has risen 100 times. Luo Feng could clearly feel the evolution of his soul, even the drag from before is all gone. His eyes gleamed brighter. Ha ha ha. I can accept more of the inheritance now. Luo Feng was extremely excited. Luo Feng, with regards to the Luo Fu Lu board's training, let me warn you. Babada's voice resounded within Luo Feng's mind. The soul kept evolving. Luo Feng spoke to Babada simultaneously. The training of the Luo Fu Lu board, what's there to warn about? Using that board and normal spirit weapons are definitely different. Babada said, the Luo Fu Lu board, already has a thread of its own life. The training would be pretty close to that of the cloud contact vine. Slip my wrist? Luo Feng laughed. Anyway, you have to let it suck your blood first. Babada said, even though it has a hint of life, it's not considered a life form. The cloud contact vine however is a life form. The training of the vine is easier, the Luo Fu Lu board is a little more troublesome. First it'll have to suck your blood. After which you'll have to bring it about and use spirit energy on it for long periods of time to appease it. It's like water seeping in and molding stone. It requires a long period of time for your spirit energy imprint to seep in. The moment it succeeds, the board will meld with your skin and take form. Babada said. Luo Feng was surprised. Change? Is it the same as wearing a genetic armor? Even though it can take the shape of armor, the board doesn't have the auto-defensive ability. Its armor form will at most be similar to your outermost armor right now, only taking the brunt of impact. Babada said, its proficiency is in flying, how fast it can fly will depend on you. Of course it's definitely a lot better than the Dark Cloud shuttle. Luo Feng nodded. He immediately brought out the peculiar stone board and slit his wrist, fresh blood staining the stone board swiftly drank the blood, especially in the center where the engravings formed the bird picture, it seemed to move a little. After feeding it once, he used it as a cushion and sat cross-legged on it, sending spirit energy into it gradually and simultaneously accepting the inheritance. The gold soul fruit was incredible. I've been accepting the inheritance for over 3 years, my survival mission in Demon Mountain is completed. If I don't leave now, my teacher will be worried. Luo Feng ordered, Babada, open connections to the virtual universe network. Understood. Babada answered. Just like when a person was focusing on something important and didn't want to be disturbed. When Luo Feng was receiving the inheritance, he didn't want any calls to come through. After all, if he didn't close communications, his family and friends would all call once every few days. Connect to the virtual universe. He sent a thread of consciousness into the virtual universe network, arriving at Yuxiang Mountain. Absolute beginning district, Luo Feng's villa. Shua. He appeared out of thin air. The guards and staff were all shocked from his arrival, after which they all regained their senses and bowed respectfully, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, the leader sector Lord Ao Duo who was lying in the distant chair and sipping wine immediately swiftly stood up, his face full of glee and surprise as he rushed over. Your Majesty, there hasn't been any news from you the past few years, we've been all very worried. Luo Feng laughed. The news of you accepting the impossible level mission has long spread. Within Yuxiang Mountain, there's been a rumor that you died at Demon Mountain. The bald old man Ao Duo said. Died? Luo Feng frowned. Who spread this rumor? No idea. Ao Duo shook his head. After which, Luo Feng swiftly walked into his villa and entered his study. Sitting before his desk, he opened his laptop and swiftly sent a mail to his friends, family and teacher, letting them know he was fine. At that moment, many calls came. Luo Feng, you are too vicious, you've disappeared for over 3 years. And in the impossible level mission, you really scared all of us, we really thought you died there in Demon Mountain. The Menka Prince Wuka shouted excitedly, immediately come over. We haven't seen you in years. I knew you definitely wouldn't have died. On the screen, Rong Jun smiled at Luo Feng. Father. Grandfather. This is my great-grandson. Luo Feng. The initial few, his parents, brother's family and his family. Now. The entire Luo family had become a huge family. If a 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years had passed, the family members would range up to the millions and more, that would indeed be normal. You, get back now. On the screen Su Xian was happy and yet angry. Luo Feng nodded. However, just as Luo Feng was about to leave immediately for his wife, his teacher Tru Yan Emperor personally came to the Absolute Beginning region. Absolute Beginning region, Luo Feng's living room. Tru Yan sat in the sofa staring at Luo Feng. Luo Feng stood obediently. No news in 3 years. Tru Yan's gaze was like lightning, sweeping past Luo Feng, and in that Demon Note Mountain, speak, why did you close all communications in Demon Note Mountain? Teacher. Luo Feng bowed respectfully, this was my mistake. Extremely protective. One can pretend easily for 10 to hundreds of years, however for 1,000,000,000,000 years, that definitely wasn't pretending anymore. Tru Yan's character was publicly known in Primal Chaos City. Over 100 years of interaction with him, Luo Feng was able to feel his concern towards himself. He immediately bowed respectfully, your student has had a miraculous encounter this time. Encounter? Tru Yan's eyes gleamed, Inheritance Palace. Even though Luo Feng was shocked, he didn't hesitate, right? There was no other way to explain, because in Demon Note Mountain, it was either training or dead, otherwise there was no reason to shut off communications. And training in Demon Note Mountain, unless it was the safe Inheritance Palace, there wasn't any other place to really train. Really? Tru Yan fiercely stood up, he looked at his student in disbelief, how can that be, how did you enter? Coincidence. Luo Feng smiled helplessly. Pretending to look innocent. Tru Yan couldn't suppress a smile, staring at Luo Feng, however you shouldn't have the ability to enter that at all, speak, how many palaces are there? 32, Luo Feng said. Ha 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 ha. Tru Yan couldn't help but laugh loudly, I didn't expect the punk Mist Emperor to actually lose his slot to my student, unlucky. What? Luo Feng was curious. His slot. Luo Feng realized. He really didn't know. That the slots were all pre-set early on. The ignorant are not guilty, you entered through the impossible level mission, even if the news is public later on, no one can find a fault with you. Tru Yan laughed, what's more, Mist Emperor and his teacher aren't people from the Virtual Universe Company. Hence there's no need to fear, what's more, if I keep the secret and you remain silent, they wouldn't necessarily find out it was you. Luo Feng nodded. Right. As long as he remained silent, even if people suspected, they would never believe that a universe level 9 was able to enter the inheritance palace. After all, even after he admitted, his teacher didn't fully believe him. There's also one more thing. Tru Yen looked at Luo Feng. The little genius Mo Luo from the primal region told me some news about you. Mo Luo. A glint flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. He snorted, that punk is incredibly vicious. He may seem righteous on the outside, in truth, if I wasn't lucky this time, I would really have been killed by him. So he actually backstabbed you. Tru Yen nodded. He said before that it was you who did so. What? I backstabbed him. Luo Feng felt rage and unfairness. He couldn't help but curse, this Mo Luo, shameless. Haha, the qualification battles, do you have confidence if you meet him? Tru Yen said. Of course. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Luo Feng nodded. After training, he knew the value of the technique. Raising his spirit energy amplitude from 70 to 80 until over 1,200, that was over 10 times. What treasure or weapon could have that kind of terrifying effect? After which Tru Yen left, after knowing his student was safe, he relaxed. Luo Feng felt gratitude as he watched his teacher vanish, as his teacher didn't pry into the details, asking just how he entered the palace. As for the golden horned beast identity, Luo Feng really didn't dare reveal it. Even his own parents and brother he didn't say. How could he? Saying that he wasn't exactly a human but a golden horned beast. He had always regarded himself as human. It's time to meet the wife. Luo Feng immediately teleported to Black Dragon Mountain Island 9-Star Bay. A thread of his consciousness was in the virtual universe appeasing his family and friends. In reality, he was still in Demon Note Mountain's core, Inheritance Palace. In space, Luo Feng stood on the Inheritance Stairs, progressing through each level. The gold soul fruits effects were indeed strong, it made his soul go through a huge evolution. Even if I trained there for over 5 years, he still wouldn't feel any sense of fatigue. And at this time, the once-every-century virtual universe company universe-level qualification battles were about to begin.